all, so welcome. Thank you for doing this interview.
No worries, thank you very much for having me.
Well, you are a racing driver, you're only 16 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you've won so many things. I mean, you've just secured the FIA OK World Championship, and that's a fair achievement. Which trophy is that one?
It's a mixture of these three at the front. So we had a presentation, obviously after the race, winning the big trophy, and then a couple of weeks later we went to Nice in France to pick up the FIA one next to it, and then just last week we went to Rwanda to pick up the lovely trophy on the left here. So yeah, it's a fantastic race, and obviously having 3 trophies for one race is a great achievement.
Indeed it is. And you've just been signed by RJ Motorsport to race in 2025 FIA British F4 Championship. I mean, that's going to be really good, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously first steps into the single-seater pathway with RJ Motorsport. Should be a fantastic year. Team's an amazing team, offering a lot of support this year, so really looking forward to getting onto the pathway of single-seaters, trying to make my way up through the ranks.
So how does it work? I mean, like just looking into this, is it like sort of, do you do F4 and then go to F3, F2 and then F1?
That is sort of the traditional pathway, but usually people sort of go to either GB3 after F4 or another class called FRECA, which is sort of in between F4 and F3. So after you do sort of the F4, then you can move into either one of them, and then it's sort of F3, F2, F1 if you're good enough.
Mm. And do you have a specific car that you always drive for this, or does like constantly change?
Each class is obviously a different car, but this year in the F4 I think I'll be in the same car all year. Been in go-karting for the last 10 years, so that's quite often, and a different go-kart, and then driving Ginetta Junior this year, sort of being another different car, and then going into F4 is a separate car to both of them. So yeah, it's a different car each time you go into a different class, but yeah.
And what type of cars are you dealing with? Like, what's the engine and?
Usually, like this year in Ginetta Junior, it's been 100 horsepower. It should be a little bit quicker for F4. Obviously, F4's got a lot more downforce from the aerodynamics and the front wings, but yeah, single seater is on slick tyres. So the Ginetta Junior this year has been road tyres, which is quite hard to manage in both the wet and the dry, with a little bit less grip compared to the slicks and the wets. But yeah, they're sort of really good cars to drive and to enjoy them a lot.
And you must have a big team for your car. How many people do you have?
I'm not too sure how many people. Obviously, each team you go into is a different amount of people, but traditionally they'd be like, well, sometimes there could be like 50 people depending on the team, but I'm guessing with the car teams only having like 3 or 4 drivers, it's probably around 20 staff members, each helping out on each different car really.
And with like the mechanic side of it, do you do much mechanics yourself? Do you know much?
I don't know too much, to be honest. I do as much as I can. There's only so much you can do though. You have obviously a mechanic to do that for you, but it's always good to help them out. In karting I did quite a lot to help my mechanic, but I'd say in terms of cars I don't know so much about it, and sort of a little bit harder for me to get involved and help the team out.
And like, I mean, doing all the races that you've done, do you ever get like a bit scared when you're going like ridiculously fast?
I used to when I was younger, but you get used to it after a while. Been racing now for 10, 11 years, so the speed's not really a big thing for me anymore. Going into the OK, racing in karting, that was sort of, felt really fast. Driving road tax all my life, which is slightly slower, so to go into OK was sort of a big, well, I say a big step, it was quite a big step, and you could definitely feel the speed difference. So I'd say that's like the only time I'd ever feel it's sort of quite fast, but apart from that I'm used to the speed, so yeah.
And what happens if you crash? You just like get another car, like it just appears?
It's not that simple, no. It's quite a big deal if you crash. Yeah, if you crash, there's obviously different, like how bad you crash it. Sometimes the car will be wrote off, which means you can't use it again. You have to get a brand new one. But most of the times it's just like a little bit of suspension or something like that where the mechanics can fix it. If it's bent to the point where you can't fix it, then obviously, like I said, you get a new car. But 9 times out of 10 the mechanics can do something to get that car back on the track. Obviously they've worked really hard to get you back out on track, which is obviously why I was thankful for the mechanics, but yeah.
And how do you handle like schoolwork and stuff? And I mean, how often do you go to practice? Do you go every week? I don't know. What do you do?
Practice like varies. In the winter series, well, over the winters, this time not doing so much testing, but you know the last couple of weeks leading up to now we've been on track quite a lot, or either being like once or twice a week. So I'm guessing into the following year, into 2025, there'll be a lot more testing beforehand. Well, before the series starts. But yeah, we do quite a lot of testing.
And with your car, how much does it like cost, and what type of car you got?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's an F4, so it's a single seater. It's the lowest. I say lowest. It's one of the lowest like forms of the single seater pathway, but it's still the ranks up to F1. So it's, if you look at an F1 car, it's sort of almost a mini version of that. And in terms of cost, I'm not too sure how much it costs, to be honest. I don't think I'd be able to tell you that, but yeah.
And then, because obviously, you know, everybody has, you know, every talent, but then again, your cars are just faster than other cars, so does that happen a problem quite a bit, where somebody will just have such a faster car than you, but not necessarily as a good driver?
It can happen sometimes. In karting, the engine is quite important, so if you have a faster engine, obviously you'll be a lot better down the straights, and some drivers have different abilities, and yeah, that can make a big difference. But in terms of car racing, they're all sort of the same engine, made by the same people. You know, you get given the engine from the championship, and then obviously the cars are the same. So in terms of car racing, until the teams start making their own cars, I think it's quite fair and quite level. But karting, you know, there's a couple of different team manufacturers who make their own engines, and then obviously using different karts can affect it quite a lot. But yeah.
And do you ever have like races where you just all have the exact same cars and you're all equal?
There is a race in karting where you have the exact, like, everybody's on the same package. It's called the Rotax World Finals. Obviously it's held at different places each year, but you have to win a ticket to go there, and then if you win a ticket, it's all on the same kart. Usually it's for the Class I race, it's a Sodi kart, so with the Rotax engine. So you go to the cars are all laid out onto the grid, and you pick a number out of a hat and then walk down the grid and you pick your car, and they're all as level as they'll be. And in the car racing, like F4, I think the car's made by the same people and the engine's made by the same people. You just have to buy the car, and then the team can tweak little things with the setup to sort of either give it more power in the top or the bottom, or a little bit more front grip or a little bit rear grip. So there's limited stuff you can do, but they make quite a big difference to the car.
And obviously, like with racing, things cost so much money, not just for your car, but like mechanics and getting there and stuff. What would you recommend to people that do want to do racing, but the fact is that cost is such a big problem to them?
Yeah, obviously, racing's a very expensive sport, and I think there's a lot of people who have masses of talent but don't have the money to get there. So it's always hard to sort of get going. The way I started was in rental karting, so indoor karting in Manchester. And then sort of going to an outdoor team. But I think the biggest thing, if you've got the talent, is to, like we did this year with Janetta, go do a test, and then if the team think you're good enough, then they'll take you on, and then hopefully they might give you sort of a deal or help fund it a little bit. But yeah, it's very hard if you don't have the money to make it in racing. But there's sort of a lot of help you can get, maybe in terms of sponsorship, sort of reaching out to the people around you, trying to help them to fund you as much as possible. And yeah, just go for a test and see if obviously you need to enjoy it and want to do it, but yeah, get the team to help you as much as you can, really.
Well, Ethan, could you please show me your trophy room?
Yeah, of course.
Great.
Just upstairs. In here's my trophy room. Got quite a few trophies over the past couple of years.
There's a lot of trophies there.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Well, I mean, there's just tons. How many are there?
I've not counted recently, but I think last count is over maybe 200. But yeah, like I said, I've not counted before. My dad's usually the one who does it, but there's a couple of trophies from obviously Ginetta, Rotax, I'm a cadet back when I was younger, and just got the build up.
bottles of wine.
It's no secco, so it's sort of like the champagne stuff you get from the Ginetta Championship when you win or come on the podium. But obviously, like these bottles here, I think they're proper champagne from previous races. The two that are on here are the only ones that are actually champagne, I think.
So which are your like best looking trophies do you think look the best?
No, what racy one?
No, that's the second
prettiest.
question.
Yeah.
That's the second. First prettiest.
Don't matter what you
One
win,
that's
as long
won
as
it
it's the
for.
prettiest trophy.
What's the prettiest trophy you think's the prettiest?
It's hard to say really.
They're
There's
all quite
quite a
pretty.
few nice trophies. I'd say there's one that's quite unique here, which is probably a quite cool trophy. It's from Driver of the Day, back in 2021 I think it was. Obviously these mini helmets over here are quite cool, from the Rotax Grand Finals. Obviously doing the walk out onto the track, getting a helmet for each one, that's quite cool.
And what would be like one you're most proud of? We're probably proud of all of them to be fair, but like
Yeah, there's quite a few that I'm proud of. Trying to think. Obviously, these ones from the Ginetta Championship are quite cool trophies. Proud of them.
Oh, so you've got one for every round.
Yeah, these are from
round 4
at each
there,
race.
round 15. Yeah.
But probably this one at the back, from the Campelos Winter Cup. It's quite a prestigious one for me. First time at the track, and it was sort of the year that I did quite well winning the Euros, the Euro trophy. That was sort of the kick-off to the championship. Winning that sort of gave me the free entry to the championship, so that's quite a good trophy, which has helped out a lot. But there's many cool trophies. I'd say it's definitely hard to pick my favourite, but.
And these are like your suits?
Yeah, these are suits from the past couple of years, obviously from different teams. One of them, I mean the blue one behind the two Tony Kart suits, from the Rotax Grand Finals a couple of years ago. And then there's obviously my first ever suit from when I was younger, racing indoor karting, the black one. So yeah, it's quite a few suits and a lot of memories in this room.
And I wanted to ask you inside the interview, but have you had a really, really bad crash that was like quite eventful?
I wouldn't say I've had a really bad crash. Back in 2019, I flipped my go-kart, but I'd say that's the sort of the worst crash I've had. I've not really had any others that have been significant. I've never broken any bones from racing so far, so fingers crossed. But yeah, it quite hurt my knee. I think I crashed hard. I've probably got the steering wheel somewhere. If I can find it. It's down there. Yeah, so this is from the crash. Hit my knee that hard. It sort of really bent the steering wheel.
Just keep that still, turn it over, and then so the viewers can see. They can see the bend on there.
So yeah.
Yeah, oh God, it has.
Yeah, that's probably the worst.
Was that from your knee?
Yeah.
Strong knee?
Yeah.
Guess so.
Well done, knee.
Well done.
Yeah.